Your Excellency Tahir bin Salim Al-Amri, the Executive President of the Central Bank of Oman, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is our pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this webinar. I would also like to welcome the Export-Import Bank of the United States team for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing your insights on enhancing Oman-US trade, as well as learning more about the financing options the US EXIM provides for international buyers of US goods and services. This, we believe, will strengthen the ties, increase economic collaboration, and provide opportunities to the business communities of both countries. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, as you're aware, the United States of America is a key economic, trade, and strategic partner of the Sultanate of Oman. And we have enjoyed long-standing ties between both countries. Building on this, in February of this year, the Sultanate of Oman and the US EXIM Bank signed a memorandum of understanding to further deepen economic collaboration, cooperation, and foster economic commercial partnership between the two countries. The MOU provides financing opportunities worth up to 192 million Omani Riyal, which is equivalent to $500 million. And it aims to facilitate procurement of goods, US goods and services for government projects, promote development in various sectors in the Sultanate. This includes, but is not limited to, renewable energy, mining, manufacturing, agriculture, wireless communication, biotechnology, water treatment, and sanitation. We believe that this collaboration and cooperation will enable us to reach further tangible outcomes in support of our aspiration to continue developing a dynamic and stronger partnership towards a shared vision for a sustainable and prosperous future. We would like to thank all of you for taking the time to attend this webinar and look forward to your active participation. And I will now hand over to Mr. Gary Schumann from the Embassy of the United States of America in the Sultanate of Oman to introduce the EXIM team. We'll be providing further insight into the financing programs. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, Government of Oman colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and friends. On behalf of the United States Embassy in Oman, I wish to extend also my thanks to the Foreign Ministry, to the Ministry of Finance, and to my colleagues at the Export-Import Bank of the United States for so graciously organizing and hosting this event today. And thanks to all of you for being here. It is indeed an honor to be able to hear and talk about the Memorandum of Understanding that my colleague Asil just described. As I recall, this was a project that was quite long in planning and in process. The idea for the MOU first began in 2020. And in 2021, I remember the excitement of the then chairman of EXIM Bank, Kimberly Reed's visit to Muscat, during which time she held meetings with the ministry and also with the foreign minister and others. Then through 2021, 2022, and also this year, EXIM colleagues have held webinars with the banking and business communities to discuss EXIM products and services. And what an honor it was to receive the current EXIM chairman, Rita Jo Lewis, back in February along the sidelines of the strategic dialogue, where right here in this very room, history was made when the Memorandum of Understanding was signed between Oman and the United States. It is indeed good to see our joint efforts come to fruition. As we'll hear from our speakers today, the agreement is an excellent vehicle to advance trade and investment under the US-Oman Free Trade Agreement and to partner together to help Oman advance its objectives for 2040. Please count on the Embassy and our colleagues at the Oman American Business Center to help connect you with US suppliers and with EXIM Bank. The OABC, the Oman American Business Center, is very active in helping to promote the export of American products to Oman and the import of the same services and products. Also, we at the Embassy are available to assist. I'm gratified that our work together is advancing our mutual interest to the benefit of the peoples of both of our countries. And I'm now honored to introduce to you today today's EXIM speakers, whom I wish to thank for joining us at 6 o'clock in the morning their time. So thank you in advance, Ebru, Doug, and Adam, who are on the other side of the ocean joining in. Please allow me to introduce them to you. Ms. Ebru Bozat-Jolu is EXIM's Senior Business Development Officer. In this role, she oversees EXIM business growth in the Middle East region and other regions as well, and she's part of EXIM's Office of Global Business Development. Mr. Doug Fry is EXIM's Senior Loan Officer in its Global Infrastructure Division, where he focuses on loan and loan guarantee programs in sectors including healthcare, water treatment, agriculture, and others. And Adam Frost is Senior Vice President of EXIM's China and Transformational Exports Program. U.S. Congress established the program to support EXIM loans, guarantees, and insurance in order to provide the most competitive rates and terms possible. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our colleagues from the Export-Import Bank of the United States.
Gary, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, everyone, here this afternoon. And I'd like to express our gratitude to the organizers of this webinar, our colleagues from the Ministry of Finance, particularly Asil, and the U.S. Embassy personnel, Gary. Your cooperation efforts played a big role in bringing us all together today, and thank you very much. Today, we will provide you an overview of our EXIM's wide array of products and services. And while I will be focusing on giving you a more overall review of these products, my colleagues Doug and Adam will be providing more details in a couple of programs, which will hopefully give you a better insight. Afterwards, we look forward to engaging with you in a lively discussion through a Q&A session. So now let me shift the focus to the presentation and start my presentation. I'll share my screen. I believe EXIM needs no introduction to this audience. We were there in February and signed a $500 million memorandum of understanding, spearheaded by Chair Joe Lewis. Let me note here that the upcoming year marks the 90th anniversary of EXIM Bank. In its capacity as an export credit agency, our organization's primary objective is to facilitate for private sector and public sector in generating and sustaining employment opportunities in the United States, but also indirectly in foreign countries. We accomplish this by providing financing for the export of American goods and services. It's important to note that we do not engage in competition with the private sector. Rather, we step in to address funding gaps in cases where the private sector is unable to secure financing due to more difficult market conditions and other hindrances. How we do it? So this is how we do it. As you see, we offer a variety of financing solutions. So these in general, we can categorize these programs in three distinct categories. It's insurance policies, loan guarantees, and structured and project finance programs. So these are designed to advance the competitiveness of our products, similar to other ECA's financing offerings, hence the expression, we level the playing field. Our programs can fit the needs of any size of companies in almost any sectors. Short-term financing solutions, which are comprised of insurance policies and working capital guarantees, mainly help small businesses. I will not spend any time today talking about working capital guarantees because those are more domestic focused programs. But I'll discuss all other programs you see here today. So these short-term programs, especially export credit insurance programs, are designed to support the financing of commodities, consumables in general for goods and services that have short-term useful life. They have repayment terms of up to 1 year and can be set up as recurring, which means once you obtain the policy, you use it a year and then it can be automatically renewed. Our medium and long-term financing programs have a broader variety. They support the financing of capital goods and related services with longer useful life. Therefore, they have repayment terms more than 2 years and up to 12 years. However, under our newer programs, which Adam also will touch upon, those repayment terms even can be further extended. Our insurance policies and loan guarantees cover the lender's risk of non-payment against foreign buyers. We also offer direct loans, and since last year, we provide domestic financing program, which I will discuss more in detail in a few minutes. Now, let's look at the medium and long-term financing, which might be most relevant to this audience today. These are four main categories for these programs. The first two solutions, namely loan guarantees and insurance facilities, share significant similarities in terms of their structure and associated benefits. Both programs use pre-approved lenders to provide funding for foreign buyers on extended terms. EXIM covers the lender's commercial risks, such as insolvency, bankruptcy, or protracted defaults, as well as political risks, including war, revolution, capital controls, or the cancellation or export or import licenses. Our direct loans program, as the name implies, are facilities directly provided by EXIM to the buyer, offering fixed rate financing with terms of up to 12 years. Under our new programs, such as CTAP, they may qualify for extended terms of up to 18 years. The interest rates used in these facilities are referred to as the commercial interest reference rate, CIR, which are determined based on the US Treasury bond rates and calculated on a monthly basis. In fact, our website, exim.gov, publishes these rates and is open to anybody. As I mentioned, I have allocated a slide just for domestic financing in a few minutes. Now, what are EXIM's general requirements for our financing solutions? To qualify for EXIM programs, certain requirements must be met. However, there are some flexibilities within our new initiatives. I will be going over these requirements, but please note that I will not be covering all the flexibilities here. Maybe Adam can talk more, but I will be talking about our general requirements. So the first one is country coverage, which you shouldn't be worried about. We need to be open for business in the country where the exporter seeks coverage. We have a country limitation schedule on EXIM's website, which provides information on our availability and any associated restrictions. At the end of this webinar, I provided some resources page, and you can see on that resources page where to access country limitation schedule, and you can look up if there is any restrictions for the country you're interested in. Now, secondly, the US content policy. Content policy is pretty straightforward for our short-term facilities, meaning policies with up to 1-year terms. So we require 51% or more US content for these policies. For medium and long-term facilities, we either ask for 85% value of all eligible goods in the export contract or 100% US content in all eligible goods in the export contract, whichever is lower. Now, I know this sounds a little confusing, but we will explain this further. Just basically, if we have to, in just one sentence, we have to describe, we say the 85% of, of all eligible goods in an export contract. Now, again, there are some exceptions to this in our new programs. Our charter requires a reasonable assurance of repayment for the transaction we support. So for that reason, every transaction, every application we receive, we perform credit analysis. And EXIM closely monitors credit and other risks in its portfolio. There are other US agencies, which our audience might be familiar with, US TDA, USAID, etc., that do provide grants and other financing that don't require repayment. But EXIM, when working with EXIM, EXIM is an export credit agency. Therefore, we do expect and we do ensure that the loan will be repaid. Additionality. This is a requirement for all medium and long-term transactions, and which it means that transactions for that category require justification for EXIM support. We need to demonstrate reasons why such support is needed, such as the presence of foreign competition or unavailability of commercial financing in feasible terms. While we cover, as I said earlier, almost any sectors, any products, we have one exception to that. We do not support military or defense products and services. The exception to this might be dual use, meaning civilian use, or some other exceptions that our engineering department can identify. And finally, again, with the exceptions in some programs, in general, we accept that all US content and foreign eligible content must be shipped from the US. So these are basically the main items, the main features of our programs. Within these, to use these medium and long-term programs in specific sectors and specific demographics.
يا الأمور طيب اشتغل دكتور؟ أنا يلا.
I think, okay, no problem with audio, right? Okay, so we have these mandates, EXIM mandates and special initiatives which make the current programs which I cited to you even more attractive. And Adam will be going over these EXIM mandates and special initiatives in more detail. However, before doing so, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Doug. And while we're talking about these medium and long-term programs, I like Doug to discuss a little further so that everything is really well informed, and Doug even can provide perhaps a sample. So I will turn it over to Doug to discuss medium and long-term products a little bit more. Doug?
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be part of this presentation. My name is Douglas Fry. I'm in the Global Infrastructure Division at EXIM Bank. I do have a slideshow, and I'm trying to bring it up, but I have it says disabled by host. But anyway, in global infrastructure, we're focused on doing sovereign transactions.
يلا نشوفكم.
And
Can you try again, Doug? I'm sorry, maybe because I was still sharing. Can you try?
الله يكرمك.
yeah,
وين
it's
يا
also
أخي؟
It
disabled.
is
وين شوفك؟
disabled.
Yeah, disabled, yeah.
الخوض هيك هي. إيه.
Anyway,
انتظرك مرة ثانية بقى.
yeah, the Global
الله يهديك.
Infrastructure Group handles the sovereign
بغالك فرويل.
transactions. And we also do bank guarantee transactions.
أطهر ممكن.
Again, you know, as Abra had mentioned, we provide financing solutions that lowers the buyer's borrowing costs, and we provide cover for larger credits and longer repayment terms. And as noted earlier, EXIM Bank signed a memorandum of understanding with Oman back in February, and the press release with that noted that the facilitates procurement for government projects. So that's why we're focusing a little bit on the sovereign sector. And you know, I've been working on transactions where we're doing hydropower projects, which get 18 years. We provide financing for capital goods that might get 5 years, but if it's part of a project, let's say building of a hospital, that can get 10 years. Again, we have our own engineering department that will review the useful life of a project, and that will also inform the repayment term that we might provide. We have an engineering multiplier program, and this is used to help get U.S. exporters in front of their buyers at a very early stage, so that they can, you know, demonstrate their technology, provide the technical specifications for that technology, and provide you a feasibility plan, preliminary engineering and design that you can review. And if you're satisfied with the demonstration of their goods and services, their technology, then you would, you know, hopefully award them the contract. And whereas that initial engineering design may have gotten 5 years of financing under our engineering multiplier program, since you've extended the contract to the U.S. supplier for the larger project, then we can roll in that engineering multiplier financing into the terms of the larger project, so that it can move from 5-year financing to 10-year or greater financing for that project. So this is a way to help familiarize your procurement teams with U.S. technology at a very early stage. Abra mentioned a lot about how our coverage is based on U.S. content, and Adam's going to be speaking more about some of the flexibilities. But for the content from third countries that we're not able to cover, we do have a co-financing program where we'll still front, EXIM Bank will still front the entire transaction. But we can, in the background, we can work with our fellow export credit agencies and get reinsurance from them for the non-US content. So this way, we're funding the entire transaction. We're providing you with one set of documents, one set of terms and conditions, and one set of disbursement procedures. And so this provides you with, you know, ease of a streamlined financing package, not multiple credit agreements, just one credit agreement. So the next steps after a sales contract is signed, the borrower will need to select what financing product. And as Abra mentioned, we have direct loans and loan guarantees. And typically on government projects, these are direct loans. Usually the Ministry of Finance is the borrower. EXIM Bank is the lender. And EXIM Bank extends that fixed interest rate Abra mentioned, the SEER rate, which is based on the Treasury bond and updated monthly. So if EXIM Bank is providing a direct loan, we don't actually disperse funds. We work through an agent bank, which the borrower will select. We can provide a number of contacts for your government to review. We work with Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, HSBC, I think, is active in Oman. Also recently on a medium-term transaction, Atrafin was the lender. This was for a $5 million oil services project that was approved earlier this year. So we can provide you contacts with a number of banks that have worked with us under a master guarantee agreement, that know our program, and we'll be able to provide you assistance in managing documentation and so forth. So the agent bank can also help you apply for our direct loan. They're familiar with our loan application. And I can also provide you assistance as well to go through that document and collect all the information that you need to apply to EXIM Bank. Typically for the sovereign-backed project, this would include a notification from the Ministry of Finance saying that the sovereign guarantee is available for the project. By sovereign guarantee, we mean the full faith and credit of the sovereign. But we also look at state-owned enterprises. If these state-owned enterprises have financial statements, they're prepared according to international financial reporting standards, they have been audited by a well-known auditor, and demonstrate sufficient debt service capacity, we can work with state-owned enterprises on a more corporate basis. We also work with government-owned banks, and oftentimes if the buyer of the U.S. goods and services is a small and medium-sized enterprise, we have what is called an on-lending structure, where EXIM Bank provides coverage of a loan to the state-owned bank or the local bank, and then provides that local bank with lowers their financing costs and provides them longer repayment terms that they can pass on to known customers of theirs that buy U.S. goods and services. So I think just some of the other information that's included in the application is, like they said, if it's a state-owned enterprise, 3 years of independently audited financial statements, the signed sales contract, background on the buyer and the borrower. Also on large government projects, we have to look at the environmental and social impact. We have to follow the Equator principles, in which all that information is on our website. We can provide you that link. Sometimes on really complex projects where there might be a need of hiring outside consultants that have duty to care to EXIM Bank, but must be paid for by the borrower. Then also another thing for the application is to provide the acquisition list and a shipment schedule. So as far as the transaction life cycle for a final commitment application, we try to expedite this as quickly as possible. For transactions that are 25 million and more, these go to our board of directors for a review and authorization. So there's a lot more due diligence involved. Once we get the complete application, we review it. I, as an underwriter, start doing that underwriting. We try to get this to board, within underwriting completed within 3 months. But in a lot of projects, it might take much longer, up to a year or more, to do all the due diligence. And then, it goes to our board for review. It gets authorized. If it's a large transaction over $100 million, there is a period where the board refers it to Congress. It's not to the members of Congress to review. Their staff will look at it, and they may have questions. They get back to us. And that's usually just a 30-day, just a 30-day period. It comes back to our board for final authorization. And then after that, then we go through the documentation phase where lawyers are involved. And usually we try to get that done in 30 to 60 business days. And then, then conditions precedent, the credit agreement is signed, conditions precedent are collected, and then disbursement of funds occurs. And then after that, once it's fully dispersed, then the loan is monitored by our staff for until it matures. So let me turn it back to you, Abru, and be happy to answer questions later.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much. Now, I believe it switches hosts a little slowly, Zoom. So because I tried to put the sample for you, but it didn't allow me to. Let me see if I will be able to share again my slides with the audience. Let me see. Share screen. Yeah, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. I'm not sure. Foreign Ministry Oman is the host now. It says, I think the room is the host now, so it doesn't allow us to put back the our slides. Adam, would you like to take over and talk about our programs, CTAP and
Absolutely.
5G?
Absolutely, I'd be glad to do it. And I, for what it's worth, I just noticed a box tick up in the corner that said you're the host again. So maybe you could try to share while I'm talking. But I just say good afternoon to my friends in Oman. It is such a pleasure to see you all, and thank you for allowing us to get up this early in the morning to join you for an excellent conversation about the future of U.S.-Oman trade relations. My name is Adam Frost. I am a senior vice president here at EXIM, running something called the China and Transformational Exports Program. And I think for all of you out there, what you should know about the program is it's really the U.S. government's way of saying we want to make sure that as Omani companies and as the Omani government make decisions for what's right for your country and your people, that you have viable options and that American businesses have a level playing field on which to compete. I'm seeing Ibru, the modern term facility with content, with foreign content example up on the screen.
Hold on. Okay, how about now? Can you see?
I see a medium-term facility with foreign content slide.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll try again.
No
Sorry.
problem.
All right. All right.
Thank you for your patience. It is never fun to have technical challenges
Yes.
from halfway around the world.
Yes. Okay. It's for
Well, while
some-
we're pulling that up, what I'll do is I'll try to do it verbally, although a slide is always better. Let's see. Ah, there we go. I see the Make More in America slide, Ibru. There we are.
Okay, we're getting closer.
Perfect. So I can go from there. That sounds good. So the program itself was added to EXIM in 2019. And I think what you all care about is that what it said, what Congress asked EXIM to do with this program is to make sure it was leaning in as far as we could to make sure that there were options available as you selected what was right for your businesses or for the Omani people. So with the mandate, we want to make sure that if US firms are facing competition from non-OECD members, or if there are 10 transformational export areas, which are a list of high-tech sectors you see at the bottom of the slide in front of you. As you're looking to expand into these high-tech sectors and to buy American, our job is to do what we can to make the financing attractive so that you're making your choices on quality and price and not just on the price alone. What that means technically is that within the financing options themselves, we are willing to bend credit policy to help ensure American exporters have a shot at the deal. So for instance, you'll see such things as longer tenor than what there's normal bank policy about what the tenor for a particular project. We would take into consideration offering a longer tenor for repayment if it qualifies for the program. There are opportunities where we would look for lower US content, but still finance the same amount of the deal. So as my colleagues mentioned before, usually EXIM financing is tied to the amount of American stuff that is in the export. Usually it is proportional. What we'd be willing to do, and for some of these cases, is that you can have less US content, but we'd still finance up to 85% of the transaction, plus some local cost additions on top of it. So we're willing to be flexible on content, we're willing to be flexible on tenor, and then we'll bring some other financial tools to bear. So we'll partner with other government agencies in the US. So as you can imagine, any loan, there are fees associated. We could sometimes use other government money to pay down the fees so that we don't pass that cost on to the buyer. We absorb that cost inside the US government. It's a long, complicated way to say it's very case specific. It depends on the specific transaction you're looking for. And so as you're having conversations with great EXIM folks like Doug about your particular project in mind, Doug will reach out to me and my team, and we'll work with him to try to find ways to make the financing more attractive. So with that, I'll pause and say only that Congress was serious when they told us to get into this game, and they challenged us to try to reserve not less than 20% of our authorization. Effectively, it would be up to $27 billion in lending. We have a long way to go. So I'm out there hunting for transactions every chance I get. So hopefully you'll all call Ebru after this and we can look for some good deals together. And lastly, Shuday, thank you for bringing up the slide, Ebru. We have one special case on 5G. So this is really advanced telecom, wireless communications, anything in the 5G space. We look at it as a value chain. We're willing to get even more flexible because we realize that just the nature of the economy today, US firms manufacture very little, while US companies do a lot of the intellectual property and the design work in this sector. We don't actually manufacture many of the parts anymore. So we're willing to get even more flexible. And you'll see some press releases in the near future about, the president announced at the PGII conference that he just came back from, that we're looking to help Costa Rica with their rollout of 5G, as well as a few opportunities in Africa as folks are looking at options to finance the build out of their telecom networks. And again, our goal in this is to make sure that foreign buyers have a choice so you can make the decisions on quality and price and not just price alone. So we'll do what we can to work with you, particularly if there are opportunities in the telecom space in the Sultanate in the near future. So let me pause there, Ebru. And of course, I'm sure we'll have some questions, but I think it's important to get through the briefing so we can have a discussion.
Thank you, Adam. Let me say a few words about also our domestic financing program. I just want to make sure that we did not skip this one. I know that it may not be the right now the most relevant program, but this is more important for a private sector or those investors who wants to expand their businesses in the US. This program is brand new. It was introduced in April 2022, and it kind of addressed the post-pandemic supply chain challenges and the erosion of the export sector. And the program welcomes investments projects in all sectors with priority given to environmentally beneficial projects, small businesses, and transformational export areas, which Adam highlighted. And it uses the program's medium and long-term loan guarantees, loans, insurance policies that I just discussed. And so the financing is 80% of the amount, the contract amount, and to qualify for financing, project needs to demonstrate that 25% of production or expected shipments are tied to exports with a lower 15% threshold for small businesses. With that, at this juncture, we will conclude our presentation and transition to a Q&A session. And again, with Adam and Doug is present, please, feel free to ask any type of questions, and we would be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
You keep your questions down to 1 minute, it will be good.
This is Najla Al-Jamali from OQ. Perhaps you can give us a bit of an overview over project financing. Obviously at OQ, we have large renewable as well as large green hydrogen projects that we look to take to financial investment decision. So it'd be good to have an overview of the requirements there.
Thank you for the question. we for this session we did not focus on project finance and structured finance. However, yes, we have a very experienced team within the EXIM Bank that has their portfolio encompasses very large projects from variety of sectors. What I can do is that we have identified how a good project finance application, what it should entail, and our customers find it very useful. What are the items that we seek? What are the, at what stage the application should be coming? Because certain project financing is a very long process from beginning to end. So for that reason, EXIM developed a procedural guide how our customers apply and what documentation and what information, permits and funding status are needed. So we do not want to actually talk about this on this webinar, but I will send it to our organizers on the Omani side, and they can provide those information to you. If you don't find that sufficient, it's pretty extensive actually. Please reach out to me and I will arrange a one-on-one consultation with a project finance expert present.
Great, thank you so much.
I believe the local bank will be benefited by will become the agent bank and the account bank. But will this bank get a chance to become to part projects?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Hello? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
audible now,
can hear
right? Yeah.
yes.
I'm sure the local banks will get the benefit by getting the agent, becoming the agent bank and the law and the account bank. But for funding these projects, will the local banks get the chance to become the financier, like to part finance these projects?
So we do work with foreign banks in markets, with the local banks being the guaranteed lender, but usually we want to develop experience first before we undertake them under our program. So you'll be happy to grow banking relationships with the local banks there in Oman. But I would encourage, first to let's work collaboratively, as perhaps under the on-lending banking structure that I talked about, where we're guaranteeing loans to local banks first and getting experience with your the bank's customers. But I mean, I guess if you have ECA experience already and can demonstrate that you've worked with other export credit agencies, I think we would be happy to look at your past experience on international capital markets, other export credit agencies, and we'll see about starting a banking relationship where you might be considered as a guaranteed lender under our program. Your staff would have to go through some training programs here at EXIM Bank, get familiar with our programs. That'd be another requirement to become getting a master guarantee agreement with us in order to be a guaranteed lender. I hope that answers your question.
Doug, I'd like to add a couple things to your comments. Doug actually gave a comprehensive answer, but yes, we do want to get involved with the Omani banks. And while we were there, we tried to actually contact them too, and we encouraged them to reach out to us, please, whether it's public bank or privately owned banks. As Doug, outlined, the most common form of working with local banks is through on-lending, or they can serve as guarantor to any transactions. On either scenario, it doesn't require funding from the local bank side. Funding is provided by the EXIM's pre-approved lender, and we insure or guarantee them. But if the local bank wants to be the funding bank, and if they want to be an EXIM pre-approved lender, we can do that. A lot of times when local banks without sufficient experience, when they do that, they end up not using the MGA, Master Guarantee Agreement. It becomes dormant, and after several years that expires. So, however, we don't want to discourage. Yes, you can be the funding bank, but you can also very attractive competitive terms. You can either participate as in the facilities as an on lending, like you're given funding, and under that funding you can on lend to your customers, or you can directly guarantee one customer of yours in a large project.
Gary Schumann from the U.S. Embassy. Hey, Baru and colleagues, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I was wondering, could you please highlight perhaps some success stories or successful cases of EXIM financing, whether in this region or somewhere else? Thank you.
Doug, would you like to talk about, because CTAP is very relevant in Oman?
So like I mentioned earlier, we did a recent $5 million transaction in oil field rental equipment that was approved earlier this year. We definitely want to do more in Oman. We've done a number of deals in Saudi Arabia. We're looking to work with the export credit agency of United Arab Emirates. So we're building up our capacities there in the Middle East. I've worked on a number of projects in Africa, particularly in water treatment, potable water type projects. And also in Africa, in Ghana, we did a new hospital called Ridge Hospital. That was about 155 million, and that's been well received. But we just recently approved a oil refining project in Indonesia, which is also pretty substantial. We're doing renewable energy projects. We did one recently in Honduras. So we're in many sectors in many countries. And like I said, we're building up our capacities there in the Middle East.
Adam, would you also give a couple of success stories from the CTAP program?
Absolutely, and glad to do it. And so one example, I'll point you to the recent announcements from the White House for the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. There are 3 or 4 examples within the president pulled out to sort of demonstrate how EXIM is helping U.S. exporters compete and bringing some value to countries like Oman and others. In particular, I'd like to compliment my colleague Doug here and his team. There's a $900 million solar project, was a sovereign transaction in Angola that we're close to closing on, but it's moving its way properly through the system. It's up for congressional notification and will come back soon, but we're very proud of that sort of work and pushing those sorts of helping compete for those renewable sectors. And on the CTEP program, I'll offer one example from about a year ago, where there was a U.S. exporter that had won a bid fair and square, but there was a competitor who didn't stop bidding and offered concessional financing and other activities to try to take the deal away. So the foreign government came back to EXIM and said, look, we still want to buy American. We believe that the goods and services are of a superior quality, but the pricing on the alternate financing was very attractive. So using our new authority that we have from Congress, EXIM went back, took a hard look, and we were managed to extend the tenor of the loan. So we took on extra risk as a bank in order to help the U.S. exporter keep the transaction. We actually ended up growing the deal from an $85 million export to $105 million over the course of about a year or so. And so it's just an example of there are some other ones where it wasn't a direct head-to-head competition like that, but much more in the bidding process. We offered flexibilities either in content or in tenor or other things that helped the U.S. exporters be more competitive and allowed the foreign buyer to get the best quality that they could for the money that they have. So I hope that helps you, Brew, but know that EXIM Bank is fighting hard to give you good options.
Yes, and just to stress it again, under the CTAP program, Adam spearheads, again, our content policy has been the most flexible, from 85%, which I mentioned to you earlier in my presentation, to all the way down to 51, even lower US content policy can be applied in those 10 transformational exports area. And we will provide this material today we used for your review and convenience. You can take them, and any projects, including project finance, involves those sectors will benefit from this CTAP program.
And just a few more comments on our coverage. We do cover local costs. So let's say you're buying an MRI piece of equipment for a hospital and that needs a bunker built for it to be used. We will cover that local cost. So the maximum we can do is 50% of the net contract price we can cover in local costs. Also on sovereign transactions, we only require a 5% cash down payment on transactions that the application gets into us before November of this year, and then converts to a final commitment authorization by May of 25. So there is some flexibility on sovereign-backed transactions where we can cover much more of the project at a 95% level rather than 85%.
Hi, this is Mohammed Jabri from Credit Oman, which is the national accrediting agency of Oman. There is some discussion between our two institutions some times ago, whereby we agree that to work with the US EXIM for Credit Oman or as reinsurer. And there is an agreement as well, I mean, verbal discussion between the two parties, that there a technical team between the two parties to work with each other to put the needed framework together in this regard. So if I may ask, I mean, where this, I mean, project reach on your side? Thank you.
Yes, could you please clarify which ministry?
Next one, Export Credit Guarantee Agency of Oman.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
Should I repeat my question again?
yes.
Yeah, we had a discussion earlier between your management and our management.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
I got it.
Okay.
So we do work directly ECA to ECA, and I believe our team is for a co-financing team. What we do is we sign co-financing agreement with other ECAs like yours, which allows us to finance our portion of the exports, and your agency can do the your side of this. So by that way, it allows, doesn't matter what the content amount is, the project is being financed. I believe there are talks and there are international group is leading some discussions with yours. I do not know the status of it, and I do not know if or when the co-financing agreement will be signed, but I can certainly find that out and provide you an answer afterwards. It is most likely that will be done, that can be done, because we have MOU now. And we want to basically use every method, every tools to make sure that this MOU is materialized, and we do finance some good projects in Oman. And that is co-financing is a very effective tool. But we will get back to you on that.
Take this opportunity as well to thank you from the colleagues from the EXIM Bank. My name is Humaid Almani from the Foreign Ministry. Just, it's not a question because I like to see more technical questions from my colleagues who are much more expert on the financial sector. But overall, happy to see such step forward to our relations between US and Oman. This is one of the major projects. I think it's very important to uplift our relations. But also, it's important to understand that we have a free trade agreements between US and Oman.
Mhm.
We do sincerely hope such project would be also, when it comes to financing, would be kept into that perspective. Bearing in mind the economy in Oman doing quite well, we see a lot of big potential also on the green hydrogens and some other sectors. So I hope the EXIM Bank would also be much more focused into a detailed project that would enhance our economic relations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if I could jump in now. I raised my hand, but I wasn't noticed. Is it okay if I say a couple of words, please?
Please.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to your colleagues, Doug and Adam. I am Musa Altai, the ambassador here in Washington.
Oh.
And as a solidarity, we took the early alarm with you and woke up with you in the morning. I know it's very inconvenient, but it's good to start early a day, you know, once in a while. And shout out for my colleague at the embassy. I see Junaid with the table there, and his colleagues also. They did a great job. And I really just wanted to thank you first, and thank my colleagues there, and wish this to be a very big and important beginning in our already good relation with the involvement and the signing of the MOU, finally, that has been worked on from both sides for quite some time. And I would like to see more projects, especially from our side here at the embassy, where we see projects that really benefit our economy in Oman, and use this tool within our system that actually been very friendly. I noticed the question about projects, where some of the projects really would benefit also achieving our strategic goals, especially in our Vision 2040, some of these. And my colleague from the ministry, Ambassador Humaid, mentioned the free trade agreement. And I just want to reiterate that question again and see if you can react to how a free trade agreement would help in something like an MOU that we just signed and trying to start here. Does it come into play, and especially in some of the goods that will be exported both ways, especially American goods going into Oman, and services? Thank you very much.
Ambassador, thank you for your comments, for your remarks. We most appreciate it, and you're very important for us in DC to connect us with the local business community in the Oman, and we always appreciate your assistance, especially now that we have this MOU. We'd like to meet you more often and help us identify these transactions that the audience also mentioned, including green hydrogen or any other sector. Really, we are very interested, very keen, start doing these projects, and we can use your help, perhaps bring in the parties that will be involving or that are planning these projects to us, so that we can guide them, we can help them to start the EXIM process. EXIM's programs are right now, especially under the new programs, there are a lot of concessions, there are a lot of flexibilities that would actually, compared to doing it under normal our standard bona fide EXIM programs, compared to them, provide a lot of flexibility. So hopefully it will be found easy to work with. I do not, the effects of free trade agreement, I assume it can come to play, and our, EXIM stakeholders and exporters, US manufacturers can give more information on that to us. Do my colleagues have anything else to add?
No, I think Abru really hit on the head to use your office, Ambassador Altali, to help us identify those projects. We also have the U.S. Commercial Service that provides a matchmaking type of facility for bringing exporters and buyers together. Perhaps that can be done through our local embassy there in Oman, help bring businesses together to start discussing these projects. And also the U.S. Commercial Service has a advocacy group that throws more of the total USG services behind a potential transaction to provide government-wide support. We like to kind of fold in our sister agencies, USTDA, a trade development agency. They provide grants for feasibility studies. We also have our Development Finance Corporation that provides equity support. So we would like to, bring all U.S. government to bear on a project and make sure you get the best package, the most flexible financing support that we can provide.
Also, in addition to docs, the sources he mentioned, and I think in his presentation, he touched upon EXIM's Engineering Multiplier Program, EMP, for the question that we earlier received about project finance. That might be very relevant too. EXIM provides this loan for the feasibility studies and to be used for preparation for the project finance. We do finance those now, and for those who want to learn more about the EMP, please contact us, and we can give more information on that as well.
Hi, can I say something?
Of course, please.
Yeah, my name is Ali Dawood. I'm the chairman of the Oman American Business Council. It's also the American Chamber of Commerce here in Oman. Great effort. I met your previous chairman. Fantastic what you're all doing. I think though it's great, it's not as straightforward as I thought it would be. There's some hoops and loops that people need to understand. So without the understanding and without the awareness, I think the traction will take a long time and maybe limited and unsatisfactory to all parties. We've seen this sort of thing before, particularly with the FTA. I think what you really need is you need to have an awareness campaign here locally in Oman so that there is an offtake of the service that you're providing. So if I may recommend, one of the ways to do it is really to partner up. And I know you've been, Ibro, you've been talking to Heather at OABC. So we as OABC will be very happy to help in creating the awareness required in Oman, in the Oman business community, directly with the business community, and also through entities like the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, as well as the local Chamber of Commerce. So I just want to say that we're here to serve and make this thing successful. So please do reach out, and I know Heather will be reaching out to you as well. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was really important and good for us. I will make sure to reach out, and that's exactly what we need to do, and we like to cooperate with you. Let's set up trainings, webinars, any outreach campaigns, really, because this needs reputation. This needs, as you said, yes, they sound simple, but it might be a little complex for the first-time users. So we are very willing, we're ready to spend time and effort to make sure that companies understand and have access to EXIM programs.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibro, Doug, and Adam, for this very informative session, for your time and the efforts in making this possible. I think it was very informative for all the audience. We would also like to extend our gratitude for His Excellency Taher bin Salim Al Amri for his attendance and for the time, for his presence for today. And last but not least, for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Embassy of the Embassy of the United States, the Sultanate of Oman, for making this possible.